It was a cold morning in a small town in Ohio. The sky was gray, and the school hallways were already filled with laughter, not the good kind, but the cruel kind. Ethan Miller, a quiet 16-year-old boy, walked with his head down, clutching his books close to his chest. His sneakers were old, his jacket was torn at the sleeve, and his backpack had a broken zipper. Every day felt like a battle. The moment he entered the hallway, a loud voice called out, "Hey, loser. Nice haircut. Did your mom use a lawnmower?" Laughter followed. Ethan didn't respond. He had learned that silence was safer than fighting back. As he reached his locker, someone pushed him from behind. His books scattered on the floor, and the sound of laughter filled the air again. A group of boys led by Jake Turner, the school's biggest bully, smirked at him. Jake kicked one of the books down the hallway and said, "Oops. Guess you'll have to crawl for it." Ethan quietly picked up his books. His hands were shaking, but he stayed calm. Inside, though, he felt small, invisible. He wondered why no one ever said anything. There were teachers nearby, students watching, but they all pretended not to see. At lunch, he sat alone at the corner table, as always. Other students laughed, shared jokes, and posted pictures on their phones. Ethan took out a small peanut butter sandwich his mom had packed. The bread was dry, but it was all they could afford. His mom, Karen Miller, worked 2 jobs, one at a diner, another cleaning offices at night. She was kind and strong, but tired. Ethan knew she was doing her best, so he never complained. After lunch, he went to the library, his safe place. Books didn't judge him. They didn't laugh. They just listened. Sometimes he imagined a better version of his life, a world where people were kind, where he could laugh without fear, where he mattered. That afternoon, the weather changed quickly. Dark clouds covered the sky, and rain started pouring heavily. Ethan left school, running down the wet sidewalk with his backpack over his head. His sneakers splashed through puddles. He had no umbrella, no jacket warm enough for the cold wind. But then he stopped. Across the street, near an empty bus stop, he saw something strange. An old man was sitting on the ground, leaning against the metal pole. His face was pale, his hands trembling. People walked past him, holding umbrellas, rushing to their cars. No one stopped. Ethan looked around, waiting for someone else to help. But everyone just ignored the old man like they couldn't even see him. The same way they ignored Ethan every day. Something inside Ethan whispered, "Don't walk away." He crossed the street carefully, his clothes soaked from the rain. "Sir? Are you okay?" he asked softly. The old man opened his eyes slowly. I think I slipped," he said in a weak voice. Ethan looked around again. Still no one cared. He dropped his backpack and helped the man sit up straight. His hands were cold, his clothes drenched. "Let me help you get somewhere dry," Ethan said. He took the man's arm and helped him stand. The man was heavier than he looked, but Ethan didn't give up. Step by step, he guided him to a small cafe nearby. Inside, the air was warm, and the smell of coffee filled the air. The waitress frowned at the dripping water but said nothing. Ethan helped the man sit at a corner table and ordered a cup of hot tea. "You didn't have to do this, son," the old man said with a tired smile. Ethan shook his head. "It's okay. You just looked like you needed help." The man studied Ethan's face for a moment, his tired eyes, his wet hair, the kindness in his voice. "What's your name?" "Ethan." "Ethan Miller." The old man smiled faintly. "You've got a kind heart, Ethan Miller. The world doesn't forget kindness. Remember that." Ethan didn't know what to say. He just nodded, awkwardly. When the man's tea arrived, Ethan smiled and said, "Take care, sir. I hope you feel better." Then he picked up his backpack and walked back into the rain. The man watched him leave through the window. There was something in his eyes, surprise, maybe even hope. As Ethan reached home, drenched from head to toe, his mom gasped. "Ethan, you're soaked. What happened?" He laughed a little. "It's okay, Mom. I helped someone today." Karen smiled softly, brushing his wet hair back. "That's my boy. Never stop being kind, no matter how hard life gets." That night, after dinner, Ethan lay in bed staring at the ceiling. His room was small, just one lamp, one shelf, and a few old books. The rain tapped gently on the window. He thought about the old man's words again, "The world doesn't forget kindness." Maybe it was true. Maybe the world remembered things like that. Maybe someday, being kind would mean something even for someone like him. As he slowly fell asleep, the sound of thunder rolled outside. He didn't know that miles away, the same old man was sitting in his office, staring at Ethan's name written on a napkin. And with a quiet smile, the old man whispered, "Ethan Miller. I won't forget you." Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. But Ethan Miller's life didn't get any easier. The bullying at school grew worse. It wasn't just name-calling anymore. Now it was jokes online, pictures, and videos shared for everyone to laugh at. Ethan became that kid, the one everyone made fun of but no one really knew. Jake Turner, the same bully who had pushed him before, started recording short clips of Ethan walking through the halls. He'd add cruel captions like "the school ghost" or "the invisible nerd." Each post got hundreds of likes. Ethan pretended it didn't bother him. He kept his head down, focused on his grades, and stayed quiet. But inside, the pain grew. Every cruel word felt heavier than the last. At home, things weren't much better. His mom, Karen Miller, worked long hours mornings at the diner and nights cleaning an office building across town. By the time she got home, her hands were sore, her back hurt, and her eyes were tired. Still, she tried to smile. "Hey, sweetheart," she'd say every evening, "how was your day?" And Ethan would always answer the same way, "It was fine, Mom." He didn't want her to worry. She already had enough weight on her shoulders. Their apartment was small, 2 rooms, 1 bathroom, and an old heater that made strange noises. But Karen made it feel like home. She'd leave sticky notes on the fridge saying things like "You can do this," or "Proud of you, love you always." Sometimes Ethan sat by the window at night, looking at the lights of the city. He wondered if life would always be this hard. He wondered if people ever changed, if kindness really mattered. But then he'd remember the old man from the rain. The way he'd smiled, the words he'd said. The world doesn't forget kindness. That memory became a small light inside him, something he held onto when the days felt dark. One Friday after school, Ethan noticed a woman struggling with grocery bags near the parking lot. Everyone walked past her, too busy talking or scrolling through their phones. Ethan walked over quietly and said, "Do you need some help, ma'am?" The woman smiled in surprise. "Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you, dear." He carried her bags all the way to her car. She thanked him again and said, "You're a good boy. The world needs more people like you." Her words reminded him of that same phrase, the one that seemed to follow him everywhere now. Later, on his walk home, he saw a kid from the neighborhood sitting by the sidewalk, crying next to a broken bicycle. Ethan stopped and helped fix the chain. The kid smiled, wiping his tears. "You're really nice," the boy said. Ethan just smiled. Everyone deserves a little help. No one noticed, but Ethan's quiet kindness started changing small corners of the world around him. Still, not every day was good. Some nights, he'd come home with ripped shirts, bruises on his arm, and eyes full of tears. He'd go straight to his room so his mom wouldn't see. But Karen noticed anyway. One night, she knocked on his door and sat beside him. "Ethan, she said softly, "You know you can tell me anything, right?" He nodded but stayed quiet. After a long pause, he whispered, "Why do people hate me, Mom? I don't even do anything to them." Karen's eyes filled with tears. She hugged him tightly. "Some people hurt others because they're hurting inside," she said. "But you have something special, Ethan. You have a kind heart. And someday, that heart will take you places you can't even imagine." Ethan didn't believe it then. But her words stayed with him. A few days later, while walking home in the evening, Ethan passed the same bus stop where he had helped the old man months ago. It was empty now, just the sound of cars passing and the light from a flickering street lamp. Something caught his eye. On the bench, there was a small folded note. It was wet from the rain, but the writing was still clear. It said, "Kindness is a seed. It grows when you least expect it." Ethan froze. His heart started beating faster. He looked around, but there was no one there. Just the rain and the wind. He picked up the note carefully and slipped it into his backpack. That night, he placed it in a small box beside his bed, the same box where he kept his few important things, an old photo with his mom, a medal he won for good grades, and now, that note. He didn't know what it meant, but it gave him hope. Maybe the man hadn't forgotten him after all. Maybe the world really did remember kindness. Months passed. Life moved on, quietly. Ethan kept working hard at school, studying late at night, and dreaming about college. But deep down, he worried. How would he ever afford it? His mom could barely pay rent. Still, he didn't stop trying. He kept doing small good things, tutoring a classmate for free, volunteering at the local shelter on weekends, helping his mom whenever she was too tired to move. He didn't do it for praise or thanks. He did it because he couldn't stop caring. And somewhere, far away, someone else hadn't stopped caring either. Because the man Ethan helped, the one whose life he changed without knowing, was still thinking about him. Watching his progress. Waiting for the right time to return. But Ethan didn't know that yet. To him, life was still hard, the future still uncertain. Yet his mother's words and that note from the stranger echoed in his heart every single day. Kindness is a seed. It grows when you least expect it. 3 years passed since that rainy evening when Ethan Miller helped the old man at the bus stop. He was no longer the shy, scared boy he once was, but life hadn't gotten easier either. Now 19, Ethan had just graduated from high school with top grades. His teachers admired his quiet determination, but very few really knew him. He didn't go to parties. He didn't have close friends. He still lived in the same small apartment with his mother, Karen Miller, who was now working extra hours to pay their bills. Ethan's dream was simple. He wanted to go to college and study engineering. He wanted to build things that made life easier for others. But college meant money, and money was the one thing they didn't have. One afternoon, Ethan sat at the small wooden table in their kitchen. A letter lay open in front of him. It was from Ohio State University, the school he had dreamed of for years. He read it again and again, even though he already knew every word. "We regret to inform you that your application for scholarship has been denied." Ethan's heart sank. His acceptance letter meant nothing without money. He folded the paper slowly and placed it beside the other's, rejection after rejection. When his mom came home that evening, she saw the look on his face and didn't even need to ask. "No luck," she whispered. He shook his head. "No scholarships? I guess college isn't for people like us." Karen sat beside him and held his hand. "Don't say that. You've worked too hard, Ethan. Something good will come. I know it." Ethan smiled weakly. He wanted to believe her. But hope felt far away. The next few weeks passed quietly. Ethan started helping his mom at the diner. He cleaned tables, washed dishes, and served customers trying to save a little money, though he knew it would never be enough for college tuition. Still, he didn't complain. Every night, when the diner closed, he'd walk home under the streetlights, hands in his pockets, thinking about what his life could have been. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Ethan was sitting outside the diner during his short break when a black car, a sleek, shiny one, pulled up in front of him. A man in a dark suit stepped out, holding a briefcase. He looked serious but kind. "Ethan Miller?" the man asked. Ethan stood up slowly, confused. Yes." The man smiled politely. "My name is Mr. Anderson. I'm an attorney. I was asked to deliver something to you." "An attorney?" Ethan asked, his brow furrowed. I don't understand." Mr. Anderson opened his briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope. "This is for you, directly. And before you ask, no, this isn't a mistake. It's from someone who knew you." Ethan blinked, completely lost. He took the envelope carefully. It was heavy, like it carried something important. "Who is it from?" he asked. Mr. Anderson smiled softly. "You'll find out soon enough. Good luck, son." He got back in the car and drove away, leaving Ethan standing on the sidewalk, his hands trembling as he opened the envelope. Inside were 2 letters and a few documents. The first was short. "To Ethan Miller. For the boy who didn't walk away. The world remembered your kindness. R. Thompson." Ethan's eyes widened. R. Thompson. The name felt familiar, but he couldn't place it right away. Then it hit him, the old man from the rain. The one he helped years ago. His heart started racing as he pulled out the second letter. It was a formal acceptance document from Ohio State University. Full scholarship. Tuition, dorm, books, meals, everything paid for. Ethan gasped. His hands shook as he read every line twice. There was also a note from the scholarship committee explaining that a private donor named Robert Thompson had created a personal fund for students of exceptional character. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. He couldn't believe it. He ran home as fast as he could, nearly tripping on the stairs, and burst through the door. "Mom," he shouted. "Mom, look." Karen came running, alarmed. "What is it, Ethan? What happened?" He handed her the letters. She read them slowly, her mouth falling open. "Full scholarship," she whispered. "Oh my God. Ethan, this is real." "It's real," Ethan said, smiling through tears. "Mom, it's real." Karen hugged him tightly, crying. "I told you. I told you something good would happen." They laughed and cried at the same time. For the first time in years, their little apartment felt brighter. That night, Ethan sat on his bed, holding the letter with the old man's name again. R. Thompson. He remembered that frail man at the bus stop, the man no one helped. The man who had told him, "The world doesn't forget kindness." Ethan whispered to himself, "You kept your promise." He looked out the window at the night sky. The stars seemed to shine brighter than usual, like they were winking at him. Ethan knew he'd never forget that day in the rain or the man who changed his life by simply remembering a small act of kindness. But what he didn't know yet, was that Robert Thompson's story wasn't over. The old man had done more than just pay for his education. He had left behind something even greater. And soon, Ethan would discover what that unforgettable gift truly was. 2 years later. Ethan Miller walked through the wide stone gates of Ohio State University with a small smile on his face. His scholarship, the one given by Robert Thompson, had changed everything. College life was completely different from high school. Here, no one cared about the old videos or cruel jokes. No one laughed at his shoes or called him names. People saw him for who he truly was: smart, kind, hard-working. Ethan still lived simply. He didn't party or show off. Instead, he spent his time studying, helping classmates, and volunteering at the local community center. Everyone who met him described him the same way, a quiet boy with a kind heart. But deep inside, Ethan still thought about the man who had given him this second chance. Robert Thompson. Who was he really? Why had he helped Ethan? One morning, Ethan received a message from his professor, Dr. Reynolds, asking him to visit his office. Ethan didn't think much of it. He assumed it was about an upcoming project. When he arrived, Dr. Reynolds looked up from his desk and smiled. "Ah, Ethan. Come in, come in. Sit down." Ethan sat quietly, notebook in hand. "Ethan," the professor said softly, "do you know why I called you here today?" "No, sir," Ethan replied politely. Dr. Reynolds leaned back in his chair. "I was looking through some of the scholarship records, yours in particular. It's a very special one, isn't it?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, sir. It changed my life." The professor smiled. "I knew Robert Thompson personally." Ethan froze. The name hit him like a wave. You knew him?" "Yes," Dr. Reynolds said with a gentle laugh. "Robert was a brilliant man, a successful businessman, but more importantly, a kind soul. I worked with him on a few charity projects before he passed away." Ethan's heart dropped. "He passed away?" Dr. Reynolds nodded slowly. "Last year. It was peaceful. He was very old, but he lived a full life. Before he died, he created a scholarship program, one for students who showed true kindness. He said he once met a young boy in the rain who helped him when no one else did. That boy changed his faith in people." Ethan's hands began to shake. His throat felt dry. The professor continued, "He said that boy didn't know it, but that small act reminded him that goodness still existed in the world. He told me that if he ever found that boy again, he would make sure he never had to struggle for his dreams." Tears filled Ethan's eyes. He whispered, "That boy was me." Dr. Reynolds smiled warmly. "I thought so. The way you talk about kindness, the way you live your life, it sounded just like the story he told." Ethan sat there, silent. He remembered that rainy day like it was yesterday, the old man lying on the sidewalk, the umbrella, the warm cup of tea. He never knew that simple act would mean so much. After the meeting, Ethan walked across campus, lost in thought. The sun was bright, but his heart felt heavy and full at the same time. He sat on a bench near the fountain, pulled out his wallet, and looked at the small, folded note he always carried, the one he'd found at the bus stop years ago. "Kindness is a seed. It grows when you least expect it." He finally understood what it meant. Robert Thompson hadn't just helped him, he had planted a seed in Ethan's life. And now, that seed was growing through every good thing Ethan did. A few weeks later, Ethan received a large brown envelope in the mail. There was no return address. Inside, there was a handwritten letter. The writing was shaky but familiar. "Dear Ethan. If you are reading this, it means my time on earth has ended, but I wanted you to know something. That day in the rain, you didn't just help a tired old man. You saved me. I was a lonely man then, bitter, lost, and without faith in people. But your kindness brought me back to life. I watched you grow from a distance, proud of the man you were becoming. You reminded me of something I had forgotten, that goodness still lives quietly in this world. I cannot repay you for what you gave me, but I hope this gift helps you live the life you deserve. Remember, Ethan, the world always remembers kindness. Pass it on. Robert Thompson." Tears rolled down Ethan's cheeks as he finished reading. He sat there for a long time, the letter pressed against his heart. He whispered softly, thank you for believing in me." From that day on, Ethan felt a new purpose in his life. He no longer saw kindness as something small, he saw it as a power that could heal, change, and inspire. He started a small group at his college called the Kindness Project. They helped students who were struggling, organized food drives, and visited nursing homes. Whenever someone asked why he started it, Ethan would smile and say, "Because once, someone believed that kindness could change the world." And he was right. That night, as Ethan walked back to his dorm, he looked up at the stars again, the same stars that had watched him years ago from his small window at home. He whispered into the quiet night, "Mr. Thompson, I hope you're watching. I promise I'll keep your kindness alive." The wind blew softly, almost like a gentle reply. Years passed. The world changed around Ethan Miller, but one thing never did: his kindness. He had graduated from college with honors and now worked as a high school teacher in a small town not far from where he grew up. His classroom was simple but full of warmth, sunlight through the big windows, colorful drawings on the walls, and a small sign near the blackboard that read, "Be kind. You never know who needs it today." Every morning, Ethan greeted his students with a smile. He noticed things others didn't: the quiet kids in the back, the ones who looked down when called on, the ones who pretended everything was fine. He saw himself in them. One student, in particular, caught his eye: Liam Carter, a thin, quiet boy who always sat alone. He never joined group activities, avoided eye contact, and carried a backpack almost as old as Ethan's used to be. Ethan knew that look, the look of someone who felt invisible. After class one day, he called out gently, "Hey, Liam. Can you stay for a minute?" Liam froze. "Did I do something wrong, sir?" Ethan smiled softly. "No, not at all. I just wanted to check if you're doing okay. You've been really quiet lately." The boy shrugged. "I'm fine." Ethan could hear the lie in his voice, the same one he used to tell his mother years ago. He didn't push. He just said, "If you ever want to talk, my door's always open, okay?" Liam nodded, still unsure. But for the first time, he smiled just a little. That evening, after everyone had left, Ethan sat alone in his classroom, looking at the old photograph on his desk. It showed a young man, himself, standing next to Robert Thompson, both smiling, taken right after Ethan's first scholarship ceremony. Beside the photo was the old letter, yellowed with time. The one that said, "Remember, Ethan, the world always remembers kindness. Pass it on." Ethan touched the letter gently, whispering, "I'm trying, Mr. Thompson. I really am." A few weeks later, something happened at school. During lunch, Ethan walked past the hallway and saw a group of boys pushing Liam against the lockers, laughing. It was like looking into his own past. He stepped in immediately. "Hey! Enough!" The boys froze. They muttered excuses and quickly walked away. Liam stood there, red-faced and shaking. Ethan placed a hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay?" Liam nodded, trying not to cry. "Why do they hate me? I didn't even do anything." Ethan's heart ached. He remembered asking his mother that same question years ago. He knelt down to Liam's level and said softly, "Listen to me. Some people hurt others because they don't understand kindness. But you can be different. Don't let them change who you are." Liam wiped his eyes and whispered, "But being nice doesn't fix anything." Ethan smiled gently. "Maybe not right away. But kindness has a way of coming back to you when you least expect it." From that day on, Ethan made sure Liam never ate alone. He paired him with kind classmates for group work, encouraged him to join the art club, and praised his small successes in class. Slowly, Liam started to open up. He made friends, laughed more, and began to believe that life could be better. And Ethan, he watched quietly, proud and grateful. He realized he was now doing for others what Mr. Thompson had done for him, believing in someone when no one else did. A year later, at the school's graduation ceremony, Ethan was called to the stage. The principal smiled and said, "This year, we have a special award for the teacher who made the biggest difference, the Robert Thompson Humanitarian Award." Ethan froze for a moment. The name hit him like a wave of memories. The audience clapped as he walked up to receive it. The principal added, "This award was named after a man whose life was changed by kindness, and today, that same kindness lives on through our very own Mr. Ethan Miller." Ethan's eyes filled with tears as he accepted the plaque. He looked up at the crowd and said, his voice trembling, "When I was a boy, someone once told me that the world never forgets kindness. I didn't understand it back then, but I do now. Every small act, every smile, every helping hand, it matters more than we think. Because someday, that kindness will find its way back to us, just like it found its way back to me." The entire hall was silent for a moment and then filled with applause. Among the students clapping was Liam, smiling proudly, his eyes shining with tears. That night, Ethan walked home under a soft drizzle. The street lights reflected off the wet road, just like they did years ago when he first saw that old man lying near the bus stop. He stopped for a moment, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Mr. Thompson, thank you. You gave me more than a scholarship, you gave me a purpose." A gentle breeze brushed past him, as if the universe itself was answering back. He smiled, slipped his hands into his pockets, and kept walking, knowing that somewhere, somehow, the kindness he had once given had turned into the unforgettable gift of a lifetime. Sometimes, the smallest good deed echoes through time. A helping hand, a kind word, a moment of care, these things never disappear. Because one act of kindness can start a chain that changes lives forever. Fade out with soft piano music and text on screen. Be kind. Someone's miracle may begin with you.